So when you think about human innovation, the timeline we're all taught.
Mm.
You've got the Wright brothers, early 20th century. That's flight.
Right.
Then the atomic age, the 1940s Manhattan Project.
Mm.
But what if that whole timeline is just wrong? Imagine you're on a battlefield, but it's thousands of years ago.
Okay.
You're expecting swords, maybe some shields. Instead, you look up, and there's a vehicle in the sky moving like a modern jet. And then someone across the field launches a weapon that doesn't just cut. It vaporizes an entire army in a flash of light.
It sounds like the opening of some massive sci-fi blockbuster, doesn't it? But what you're describing are scenes. I mean, they're depicted with startling detail in texts that are millennia old.
Yes.
And that's really the provocation for today, because when you open these Sanskrit epics, you don't find a primitive world. You find a world that looks suspiciously like a high-tech war zone.
That's it. And that's what we're diving into. We're talking about the Ramayana, the Mahabharata. But we're not just looking at them as mythology today. We're asking the big question. Are the descriptions of Vimanas, these flying machines, and astras, the weapons, are they just poetic metaphors?
Or, and this is a really interesting part, are they describing a lost technology that ran on laws of physics we've just completely forgotten?
Yes.
It's a huge question, and we really have to sift through the material. We've got the classic epics, but also, scholarly work on how these stories change, like in the Southeast Asian Hikayat Seri Rama. The mission is to separate the pop culture conspiracy stuff from what the texts actually say.
And the reality is always stranger, isn't it?
Almost always.
So let's start with the Vimanas. The ancient alien shows always picture them as, nuts and bolts spaceships.
Yeah.
What's the most famous one from the actual texts?
Oh, without a doubt, it's the Pushpak Viman from the Ramayana. This was Ravana's vehicle, the Demon King.
Ravana, the antagonist.
Exactly. And the descriptions are vivid. It travels through the air. It's thought-guided. It can even resize itself. But there's a huge irony here that, people often miss when they talk about the tech.
So what's the irony?
Well, think about the two main figures. You have Rama, the hero, the incarnation of God, the good guy, and you have Ravana, the demon. But when Rama needs to cross the ocean to rescue his wife, he doesn't call in an airstrike.
No, he builds a bridge.
He builds a bridge. He has to laboriously get an army of monkeys and bears to throw stones into the water. It's manual labor. It's basic civil engineering.
I never thought about that contrast. The good guy is using low tech, and the villain has air superiority.
Precisely. And that tells you something about Ravana. He wasn't a mindless monster. We translate Asura as demon, but he was a brilliant scholar, a devotee of Shiva. He fits the trope of technocrat, almost a mad scientist. He's mastered the material world, the flying machine, the city of gold, but he's missing the moral grounding.
So the text is making a point that tech without righteousness, without dharma, is the tool of the bad guy.
It seems to be, yes. It's a fundamental theme.
Okay, so let's get into the mechanics. Did these things have engines? Did they run on fuel?
This is where we have to pivot to the Mahabharata because it explains the physics of this world in a really fascinating way. There's this one detail about Yudhishthira.
He's the eldest of the Pandava brothers, the good guys in this epic.
Correct. The son of the god of Dharma. And his whole thing is he never lies. He has this absolute adherence to truth. And because of that, the texts say his war chariot didn't touch the ground.
Wait, what?
It floated 4 fingers above the earth. So a few inches.
A hover chariot, just because he was honest.
It wasn't mechanical. It was a physical manifestation of his satya, his truth. But here's the kicker, the crash. During the war, they desperately need to defeat the enemy general Drona. And the only way to do that is to make him think his son, Ashwatthama, is dead.
Ah, I know this one. They cheat.
They cheat. They kill an elephant named Ashwatthama. Then Yudhishthira, the truthful one, rides out and shouts, Ashwatthama is dead. And then he sort of whispers, the elephant.
A technical truth, but a moral lie.
Exactly. And the moment he uttered that deception, the texts say his chariot wheels sank straight into the ground. The anti-gravity failed.
That is wild. The fuel wasn't rocket fuel, it was truth.
In a sense, yes. The laws of physics were tied to the laws of morality. You couldn't have the high technology without the high character. The character drops, the tech fails. You had to be the fuel source.
Which kind of blows the whole ancient astronaut theory out of the water. An alien wouldn't crash because of a little white lie?
It makes it very difficult, yes.
This is a perfect segue into the weapons. Because if the transport runs on your morals, the weapons seem to require a whole other level of mental power.
We're talking about astras, and it's important to define that. An astra isn't a physical club or a bow. That's a shastra. An astra is the celestial weapon you invoke with a mantra.
A sound vibration.
Yes, it's like sound-activated technology. You could take a normal arrow, even a blade of grass, charge it with the right mantra, and it becomes a weapon of mass destruction.
So what's in the inventory?
Well, you have the Brahmastra. It's described as destroying entire armies in a flash, an effulgence of 10,000 suns. The land becomes barren for generations. Survivors lose their hair and nails.
That sounds uncomfortably like radiation sickness.
It's an uncanny parallel. And then there's the next level up, the Brahmanda Astra.
And that does what?
That's supposed to be powerful enough to destroy the entire solar system, the 14 realms. It's the ultimate endgame weapon.
But they had countermeasures too, right? It wasn't just about overwhelming force, it was tactical.
Very tactical, almost like rock, paper, scissors with elemental weapons.
Yeah.
If someone fires the Agnyastra, the fire weapon, you counter with the Varunastra, the water weapon. There's a wind weapon, the Vaivayastra, that could just lift armies off the ground.
You're fighting energy with counter-energy.
Exactly.
But the one that always gets me is the Narayanastra, the weapon of Vishnu. It sounds like the smartest missile ever made.
It's fascinating. It fires this relentless rain of arrows and discs, but its targeting system is what's unique. It targets aggression.
Aggression. Not heat, not movement, but an emotion.
The intent to fight. The harder you fight it, the more powerful it becomes. If you try to shoot it down, it multiplies. If you run, it gets you. Your resistance is its fuel.
How on earth do you survive that?
The only way, the literal defense mechanism in the text, is to drop your weapons and prostrate yourself. You have to surrender completely.
So it forces peace through overwhelming power.
It does. If you submit, the missiles just pass you by. It's a weapon that makes war impossible by weaponizing the enemy's own ego against them.
A philosophical weapon. And speaking of discs, there's Krishna's weapon, the Sudarshana Chakra. That one feels less like an energy beam and more physical.
It is. It's a spinning, serrated disc. It's mind-controlled. It returns after the kill. It's kinetic. It physically beheads enemies like the Tyrant Kanza. It's a terrifyingly efficient drone with a buzzsaw, basically.
So hover chariots, smart missiles, mind-controlled drones. Who built this stuff? Who are the engineers?
Well, this gets us into the cosmic hierarchy. The texts are clear. This isn't human tech. Humans can borrow it or earn it, but it belongs to the Devas, the Asuras, and the Nagas.
We mentioned the Asuras with Ravana. They're often just called demons, but it's more nuanced, isn't it?
Much more. They're cousins of the Devas, the gods. The Devas are guardians of cosmic order, the status quo. The Asuras are beings of ambition, power, materialism. They're the ones always seeking immortality and new technology. They're the disruptors.
So innovation comes from the ones who are dissatisfied.
In many cases, yes. The drive to conquer nature is an Asuric trait.
And what about the Nagas? They're not just snakes.
No, not at all. They're serpent beings, guardians of the treasures of the earth gems, minerals. They represent subterranean power and stability.
And all these groups come together for what might be the biggest engineering project in mythology, the churning of the ocean.
The Samudra Manthan. It's the ultimate example of these rivals cooperating for technology. They're after Amrita, the nectar of immortality.
And they turn the entire ocean into a blender to get it.
Essentially, yes. Look at the scale. They use a mountain as the churning rod. Vishnu has to become a giant tortoise to act as the pivot point at the bottom of the ocean.
So the mountain doesn't sink.
And they use Vasuki, the king of the serpents, as the rope to turn it. The gods on one side, the Asuras on the other. But here's the key part for our discussion. Before they get the nectar.
There's a catch.
A huge one. The churning first produces halahala, a deadly poison so potent it threatens to destroy the universe. It's a metaphor. You get the poison before the prize. The pursuit of ultimate power creates toxic byproducts you have to deal with first.
A lesson we're learning the hard way with, nuclear waste and microplastics.
Exactly. We're churning up our own ocean and we don't have a Shiva to come drink the poison for us.
I want to shift for a moment because you found some amazing things about how these stories changed as they traveled into Southeast Asia.
Yes, this is where the technology idea gets really fluid. In the Malay adaptation, the Hikayat Seri Rama, the science becomes more animistic. Well, in the Indian texts, an astra is a cosmic missile. In the Malay version, Rama's arrows aren't just weapons, they're described as being alive. They have their own will.
And there was that scene about the grass.
Oh, it's a beautiful, strange moment. Rama is worried about his wife Sita being lonely in captivity, so he doesn't build a robot companion. He prays, and bunches of grass and flowers are literally transformed into human souls, into people, just to keep her company.
Wow. So we've gone from sci-fi to high fantasy.
The genre shifts entirely. It suggests the ultimate power isn't mechanical, but biological. Nature itself is the technology.
It really reframes the whole conversation. Going back to Yudhishthira's chariot, the texts don't care about aerodynamics, do they? They care about satya, about truth.
That's the core of it. Our jets fly whether the pilot is a saint or a sinner. The physics is morally indifferent. But in these texts, the tech is morally sensitive. The fuel isn't kerosene, it's your internal discipline, your dharma.
So you couldn't just find a Vimana in a cave and hotwire it.
You couldn't fly it, not unless you had the moral standing to match the machine. It's a built-in safety feature that, we notably lack. We've completely severed power from character.
That's a heavy thought. We've built the Brahmastras. We have the nukes. But there's no safety switch that requires us to be enlightened to use them.
We have the hardware of the gods with the software of the asuras.
So to wrap this all up, real technology or mythology?
I think it's a description of a reality where consciousness and matter weren't separate. The power is real, but it's not a power of gears and pistons, it's a power of the spirit. And the lesson is that advanced power demands advanced morality. If you try to cheat, you crash.
And maybe that's the warning. We've achieved the flight, we've built the weapons. So the final thought for you listening is this. We have the hardware, but do we have the 4 fingers of moral elevation needed to wield it? Or are our wheels about to hit the mud?
That is the question.
Keep looking up and keep diving deep.